Welcome students to the maths class. This is your maths book and today we will start with chapter number 12, ratio and proportion. Aims and objectives. Students will be able to learn about ratio, understand about the unit of ratio, learn about proportion, put number into ratio and proportion, find equivalent ratios, recognize and apply ratios and proportions to solve real life problems. Dictionary. What is ratio? Comparing of two quantities in terms of how many times. This comparison is known as ratio. Symbol of ratio is this. Equivalent ratios. If we multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number, then we get the equivalent ratio. Proportion. If we say that two ratios are equal, then it is called proportion. Unitary method. If we find the value of one unit, then calculate the value of the required number of units, then this method is called the unitary method. Extreme terms and middle terms of proportion. The first and the fourth term in the proportion are called the extreme terms, and the second and the third terms are called the middle or the mean terms. Ratio. If we compare two quantities using division, then it is called ratio. It compares quantities in terms of how many times. The symbol to represent ratio is this. It reads as 4:3. It can also be written as 4/3. This is 4:3. It can be represented like this. Two quantities can be compared only if they are in the same unit. Example, father's age is 75 years and the daughter's age is 25 years. The ratio of father's age to the daughter's age is father's age divided by daughter's age. Here it is 3, father's age is 3 and daughter's age is 1. So it can be represented as 3:1. Difference between fractions and ratios. A fraction describes a part of a whole and its denominator represents the total number of parts. Example, 13 means 1 part out of 3 parts. A ratio is a comparison of two different quantities. Example, in a society, 10 people like driving, 20 people like swimming, and the total number of people in society is 30. The ratio of the number of people liking driving to the number of people is 10:30, whereas the ratio of the number of people liking swimming to the number of people liking driving is 20:10. Equivalent ratios. If we multiply or divide both the numerator and denominator by the same number, then we get the equivalent ratio. There could be so many equivalent ratios of the same ratio. In the case of equivalent ratios, only their value changes, but they represent the same portion of the quantity. For example, let us find two equivalent ratios of 2/4. To get an equivalent ratio, we multiply both the numerator and the denominator with 2. 2/4 is equal to 2 multiplied by 2 divided by 4 multiplied by 2. This gives us the answer 4/8. To get another equivalent ratio, we divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. Here, 2 is divided by 2 upon 4 is divided by 2. That gives us 1/2. So, from the above figure, we can see that in all equivalent ratios, only the number of equal parts is changing, but the ratios are representing the half part of the circle only. The lowest form of the ratio. If there is no common factor of numerator and denominator except 1, then it is the lowest form of the ratio. For example, find the lowest form of the ratio 25:100. The common factor of 25 and 100 is 25. So we divide both the numerator and denominator with 25. 25 divided by 25 gives us 1 and 100 divided by 25 gives us 4. So the lowest form of 25:100 is 1:4. Proportion. If we say that two ratios are equal, then it is called proportion. A/B is equal to C/D. we can write it as A is to B proportion C is to D, or A is to B equal to C is to D. And it can be read as A is to B as C is to D. Extreme terms and middle terms of proportion. If two ratios are not equal, then these are not in proportion. Unitary method. If we find the value of one unit, then calculate the value of the required number of units, then this method is called the unitary method. For example, if the cost of if the cost of 3 books is 320 rupees, then what will be the cost of 6 books? So here cost of 3 books is 320 rupees. So cost of 1 book will be 320 divided by 3 rupees. And cost of 6 books will be 320 divided by 3 multiplied by 6. That is 640 rupees. So the cost of 6 books is 640 rupees. This is the assignment that you have to do in your practice notebook. Thank you.